Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Today I've got the beginning of a new quilt. It's beginning almost a new year, and I'm going to share how I'm going to start this project because it's going to take 124 patch blocks. And what I'm going to do is show you some of my organization for getting started. The project this time I'm working towards is a quilt that comes from Quiltmaker, March, April 2023, page 23. And for this tutorial, if you can't find the magazine, there is a source for back issues, and it's thequiltingdaily.com, and it's on that note right there. But you can see there are a lot of squares, and we're going to be looking at 4.5-inch squares put together, and they're going to be put together on a diagonal. But before I ever start worrying about that, I'm just going to start and work on my 4-patch blocks. The first thing I did is I went to my little bucket of 2.5-inch squares that I had been saving, and it was a lot higher. I've already started on some of my blocks, and it stacked pretty high, and I thought, whoa, what am I going to do now? Because I like to look at colors together. I like to mix them up, and I've got them all just stacked in this box. But the first thing was I had a bunch to work with. But before I started, because I knew I had all of those, then I also went to my 3-inch box, and you can tell there's quite a difference with the 3-inch box, and I've already cut the ones that I wanted out of that one. So that gave me some more blocks of some more different material. And then went to the 5-inch squares, and I didn't want to go into any of my packets right now, but I did have some that I had cut out of before, and I could get almost 3 blocks out of each one of those, and that gave me a nice another set of different colors that I put in there. Then the other thing that I did is I like to have things scattered out through the quilt that are special, or things that I fussy cut. And so I went back and I found some blocks that I cut out. I fussy cut at 2.5 inches because this is going to give me a lot of variety. I already had a lot to start with, but I wanted it to be fun too. My goal was not just to use up my 2.5-inch squares in the bucket, but to make something that I was going to enjoy. And this was my first strategy, as I pulled out that felt board that I keep, that's got batting on it, and I started pulling out colors, and I started organizing them by the color, the reds, the blues, the pinks and peaches, and colors like that, just so I could get a nice picture of a lot of colors that I could start with. And so once I got that sort of set up, and I still have a bunch left in the bucket, so I wasn't worried about sorting the whole bucket. All I wanted to do was have enough to get started. And then when I start running out of a color, I go and add it, or I want to go look for a new color that I haven't done, I'm going to put it in there. Because right now, I don't know if this is going to have what kind of a border or blocks in it it's going to have, what color they're going to be. Because what I really want to do is get my blocks made and then go and play with what I want to be the outside border, and then that little block that was inside the quilt. So once I get those together, then I started putting them together. And up here at the top of the board, you can see where I've got some that I've been working on. And what's fun about this, it's sort of like doing some of those other projects that you have different things you can do. You can go and put colors out. You can start putting colors together. You can go to your sewing machine or by hand and start putting your 2 patches together, and then those are going to become your 4 patches. You can do some ironing, but there's a lot of variety, so that even though there's a lot of blocks to do, you can make it fun. And once you get ready to start, I suggest you start with a full bobbin, or maybe make a couple of full bobbins if you're using your sewing machine instead of hand stitching. But I think this is going to be one that I'm going to do some hand stitching when I go out. I'm going to take some with me so when I go to the dentist or the doctor, I can sit and work on them. But then I take my 4 pieces that I've chosen to put together, and I sort of sit here and look and see, well, that looks pretty good. And so then I just fold them over. And I'm actually doing this with chain stitching, which has been fun, but I don't do a zillion at a time. I've sort of got it where I do 6 blocks at a time, and then I go ahead and I stitch those at the 1/4 inch, and I'll just start here for a minute. That's the first block, and then that's the other block that goes with it. And I keep going until I get a chain made with those, for those 6 blocks that I wanted to do. And as soon as I take that chain off of the sewing machine to go to the ironing board, I have a little, I like to know where I'm going. So I've got a little cheat sheet there and a pen. And so when I get 6 blocks that are set to go together, then I go ahead and put my tallies on there. And I've just worked a little while yesterday, and I'm already up to 35 blocks. That was really nice. So you've got that put together. Then I went over to the sewing machine. Over to the iron. And this time, lots of times I open my seams, but for this, and to make it go a little faster, I went ahead and I folded one way, and then I had the other seam going the other way. And because then when I pick them up and I set them together, remember we've looked at locking your rows together. So what we do is take that, and one seam's going one way and the other one's going the other way. And I pin that. And I do all 6 of them. I get all 6 of them pinned. And then here's another one that I've got pinned. And then here again I can chain stitch. I can start, and I can go down through that block. And then we'll do this other one. And then try to make your seams the same as you're going. So now that I've got these chained, I would take them over to the ironing board, and I would press the seam to set it. That's a good start. Or you can finger press, and then we'll open it up. And there I've got a nice colorful one. Now this is the place where I open my seams because of the bulk. Because I don't know if I'm going to hand stitch this quilt at the end or do it on the sewing machine to finish it. And then I press it and I have them. Then what I do is I moved my cutting board. And when I get a stack of these, I don't get a whole lot of them either. But I put them in a place where I know that they have to be trimmed off, checked. And you can eyeball this one and tell that it's off. And so what I want to do is take my ruler, turn it around, and I'm going to take and lay this so that it's at 4.5. And you can see this one's really close. Even a little wonky it looks when you're just looking at it, but it's really, really close. And then when I turn it this way, and I can look at 4.5, 4.5. I'm really pleased with that. That's going to make you happy with your quilt, because too many wonkies blocks, guess what's going to happen to your quilt. And then this one I'm going to lay on here, and it looks like I'm a little bit short on this edge, but I can put that off to the side as a spare, but it really doesn't bother me too much. That's 4.5. because there's going to be some give with this quilt too when you do your parts. And that's really, but then I want to lay it that way, and it's perfect going that direction. So those are finished, and I have the only thing I could grab when I was organizing was this big box, and that's where I'm going to put the ones that I've got done, and the ones that are trimmed are here, and then my little ones that are off over there, I put those in another stack because they might fit as you're going. And after telling you about it, I'm ready to start this morning. It's going to be a sunny day, and I'm looking forward to it. And go back and look at the quilt that I'm going to work on. Now, I won't have part 2 ready next week. It's not going to work, depending on how much time I have. But what I wanted you to do was look at, they used light color on the outside, a grunge actually, and then a darker color inside between the blocks. And then there is that same outer edge is right here in the middle. And this middle section is 36 blocks, just so you know. But don't put that, you're gonna sew these together when we get ready. I'm just telling you a preview of the future, that we're going to do it with diagonal rows as we add the pieces in there. And that looks pretty good. And then that was the end of that for today, but I just wanted to share with you that I just got so happy making those round coffee mugs. I just got to show you a few of them. These are ones I just started with a funny center. And then there I did a rectangular one. And it's actually a good learning experience, because doing that, I learned things about putting those on there. Knew a lot about that already. Then I did some fussy cutting, and here's one, is all you need is love and a cup of coffee. And then I've got the same material on the back and the label. And then there's one with the coffee mug and the coffee. There was one that starts out like the log cabin with just the square in the middle. And I had fun matching up the colors. Then I did one where I just started with that system where you start with a center, and you add a color going this way, and another color, and another color, and then you go and do the other side. And I keep the colors that I'm doing sort of together as I'm going through one, and then I incorporate those in the next, because it's really a nice gift when you have two that go together. Then this was just a funny, crazy thing I had done, because I had put a bunch of 2-inch blocks together with a strip on each side. Then I just went back and I cut my circles out of that piece of, I had already quilted it. And then I went back and cut my circles, then added the back on there. So this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have good luck with your 4-patch blocks. And remember, if you're going to go for this quilt, it's 120 of them. But if you do them a little bit at a time, and do a little bit of the different things at a time, you'll like it. Thank you for watching. If you liked anything or learned, please subscribe, hit like, and leave comments. Thank you.